India-US trade agreement is here, but the debate hasn't stopped. This, of course, is an interim agreement, and there could be more that lies still to come in the fine print. But even now, there are two major areas that have come into focus. One, will India stop the purchase of Russian oil, as the White House and Donald Trump have claimed, not just verbally, but in the president's executive order? And two, is India obligated to purchase $500 billion worth of equipment and goods from the United States of America over the next 5 years? While the opposition is targeting the government on the trade deal, there are others who are arguing that in a Trumpian world, this deal is as good as it gets. We'll be talking to two major experts to ask whether this deal and what we know about it is indeed a win-win, or has India given more than India is getting? I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Moments ago, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has said that there will be only one factor and one factor alone in determining India's energy policy, and that is national interest. India has neither confirmed nor denied a very specific claim made in Donald Trump's executive order and claims by the White House. The claim is that India will entirely stop the purchase of Russian oil. The MEA has not denied or confirmed this, but the data does tell a story. There has been a sharp decline in the import of Russian oil in the last several months, and in December 2025, this import was down to a 2-year low. That said, even in the month of January in 2026, Russia remained India's largest supplier of crude oil imports at about 22%. Will this stop entirely? It's one of the many points that has come into sharp focus as the interim trade agreement continues to be debated. Let me welcome two very distinguished experts today as we continue to try and make sense of what we know, what we don't know, and what is still to be revealed. Joining us is veteran diplomat, Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee. Always a pleasure, ma'am. Good to have you with us. And also joining us from Washington today is one of India's foremost journalists, based, of course, now for many decades out of the United States of America, Seema Sirohi, who's also, of course, has an excellent book out, which I recommend that you pick up if you haven't already. So it's good to have both of you with us. Let me play out Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's latest statement, this to ANI Smita Prakash, when asked specifically about whether there will be a cap on the import of Russian oil. Take a look.
The buying of crude oil or LNG, LPG from the US is in India's own strategic interests as we diversify our oil sources. But the decisions are taken by the buyers, by the companies themselves. So the trade deal doesn't discuss who will buy what and from where. The trade deal ensures that the pathway to trade is smooth, ensures preferential access. Trade FTAs are all about preferential access to your competition.
So the Commerce Minister has effectively argued in interview after interview that it is not his domain to talk about whether there will be a policy shift in the import of Russian oil. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has responded, but only to say that policy will be driven by national interest. I'll play out that statement also a little later in the program. Ambassador Mukherjee, let me start with you. In this face-off between Delhi and Washington over the last many months, India has been applauded for holding our nerve, for not getting drawn into public argumentation with Trump, and for asserting our strategic autonomy. But now there are those who are saying that as long as this ambivalence continues around the question of the purchase of Russian oil, that assertion of strategic autonomy is getting undermined, is getting diluted. From the MEA or from the Commerce Ministry, we don't have a specific, very specific yes or no answer on this issue of Russian oil. Trump's claims, of course, are very specific. How do you look at this business of the oil debate and the agreement in general?
Thank you, Barkha, for having me on your program. The ambivalence is a natural when dealing with somebody like Trump, because when a deal has been finalized, and it is not conditional upon Russian oil purchase or not, but it is introduced as a conditionality by the president himself in oral statements. The last thing you want to do is to get into a tutu meme with him when you've avoided it successfully for so many months since he became US president. Because he revels in causing controversy in order to get his opponent off guard. That is the way he does transactional business, and that is the way he does transactional diplomacy. We don't do it that way. There is absolutely no ambivalence with regard to Russian oil, as Vikram Mishri correctly pointed out. Whether we buy oil and from whichever source, it depends upon our national security interests, our national needs, and how we plan to do the business. There is no doubt that we have agreed to bail out the Americans by purchasing some Venezuelan heavy oil, which is very similar to Russian heavy oil, because our Jamnagar refineries are ideally suited to refine that oil and to get the Americans out of a spot, because most American companies don't even want to go to Venezuela in its present condition. They say it's uninvestable. So, whatever oil there is, we have helped out the Americans by buying a fairly large amount, which we will refine and we'll do what we want with it, either use it domestically or sell it back. We may even sell it back to the Europeans, which is what we were doing with Russian oil. As far as Russian oil is concerned, it depends upon what we want to buy on the spot market, Barkha. There is no way a sovereign country can be stopped from buying oil in the spot market. If there is Russian oil from non sanctioned entities available in the spot market, which is of use to us, why on earth should we tell Trump we are buying it? We'll do what we want. The point here is he has removed the tariffs which were hurting us. We have given him certain concessions. He has given us certain concessions. It's an FTA, as Piyush Goyal said. We don't want to cause a controversy right now, because the moment that there is a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, orchestrated by the greatest peacemaker of all time, Donald Trump, he will remove the sanctions on Russian oil in any case. So this is, in my opinion, a controversy created by Trump for his domestic audience and to create confusion when he knows that Parliament is in session, to throw us off guard. But we are also very very tough negotiators, Barkha, and
Hmm.
we are as transactional as Trump. So, if Trump thinks he is the only transactional guy in town, he is highly mistaken. If we were not transactional, we wouldn't have had this FTA in the first place. And in my opinion, whoever has said that it's the best deal that you can get out of a Donald Trump is absolutely correct. We couldn't get anything better out of him. This is it, Barkha. If you want to open your champagne and say cheers, this is the moment to do it. You couldn't have got anything better out of him. Whatever we had, let's hold on to it. Hold on to it and let it not slip out of our hands. That's what I would say, Barkha.
Well, I'm always ready to toast a glass of champagne. I'll take any reason that I can get. But Seema, I think Ambassador Mukherjee makes a very interesting couple of points. One, that it's always better to be sort of low key when you're dealing with someone like Trump. And, even over the last few months when Trump was very provocative and some of us would get riled up and say, why aren't we responding? It turned out that that was not necessarily the best way to handle him in full public gaze, point one. Point two, yes, indeed, if Trump is able to deliver and claim credit for a Russia-Ukraine breakthrough, then anyway, this entire debate around the purchase of Russian oil becomes irrelevant. So I think what Ambassador Mukherjee is saying is, let's buy a little time, hunker down. Russia's still your biggest supplier, by the way, of crude oil as of January 2026. So the numbers are falling month on month dramatically. How do you see it? Obviously, the opposition is scoring or trying to score political points. There are others who are concerned about strategic autonomy. What's the view from Washington?
Uh, Good morning, and thanks for having me on your show. I agree entirely with the ambassador because, see, India will never completely turn off the tap on Russian oil, because that's I don't even think that's necessary
Mhm.
because, as the ambassador said, in case there's a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, this whole question becomes moot. We don't have to worry about it. In the meantime, there's a tapering of Russian oil. Indian companies, because Russian companies are under sanctions, India cannot buy from those. So that's already happening. Now, the strategic calculation India has made, as far as I can understand it, is in the sort of what's better at this moment, th- to secure the relationship with the United States, or to assert, oh, we're going to buy as much oil from Russia as we were before. And I'm also told the discount in Russian oil is not as much anymore as it used to be. There's kind of a glut of oil right now. Everybody is producing oil, and there are other vendors India can go to. And India has the option of maintaining the relationship with Russia by other means. So, this is um, an attempt to save the US relationship, bring it on track, because we've had a very tough year, as you know. It's been very rocky. And I think the government of India made the wise decision to take the deal. 18% is a lot better than 50%, right? And we are not in the world of 2 or 3% tariffs anymore. This whole thing has been weaponized. We've got to deal with the cards that are there.
Okay, that's a broad consensus on the approach to handle Trump. Let me play out the newest statement that we have from the highest levels of foreign ministry, well, at least in the bureaucracy. The foreign secretary has spoken in response to a specific question on Russian oil and Trump's claims. Take a look.
Naturally, when you are dependent to the extent of 80-85% on an imported resource, you have to have concerns about the possibility of inflation driven by energy costs. So it's not surprising, therefore, that our foremost priority is to safeguard the interests of Indian consumers insofar as energy is concerned, to really to ensure that they receive adequate energy at the right price and through reliable and secure supplies. And our import policy insofar as energy is concerned is therefore driven entirely by these objectives.
So, nothing disagreeable or nothing to disagree with in that statement, Ambassador Mukherjee, but of course, it doesn't take the question head on. And I think what you're saying is, why should we take the question head on? We can continue to operate in the way that we have handled Trump all these months by not being directly confrontational. That's point one, and biding our time. But here's my question to you. The executive order that the president signed, of the president of the US signed to lift the punitive 25% tariffs on India, had a paragraph, and I think we have that with us. It specifically spoke of how America is going to monitor how Russia, what India is doing vis-a-vis Russian oil, and if India resumes directly or indirectly, then the president would reserve the right, based on his advisors, on whether to reimpose the tariffs or to even impose additional tariffs. My question to you is, should we be concerned that there's a sort of metaphorical Damocles sword hanging over our head on this?
Not at all. Surely we have now got used to his tactics of bullying, blackmail, pushing, not accepting a country of 1.4 billion people on equal terms of sovereignty. This is not the way to deal with sovereign states. That you put a mechanism, it reminds me of when I was in school, when you'd have that head girl, we used to call her the principal spy for the teacher. She would point out this kid is doing this kid is doing that. This is it. He's trying to bully He's trying to show that he is the lord of the global order. He's trying to threaten, etc., etc. The best way to respond to him is exactly what Vikram Mishri just said, which is that we are hunkering down. We will buy oil on the spot market, which is not sanctioned. He can't stop that. We will not buy from sanctioned entities. That's why it's fallen, because it's very clear that those who are buying the oil have very deep stakes in the US market, and they are never going to take such a risk of getting into a situation where they would buy oil from a sanctioned Russian entity. We've never done that. In 2019, we stopped buying Iranian oil for the same reason. So we will hunker down. We will buy from the spot market. We will make sure that once the Russia-Ukraine conflict is over, and at the same time the sanctions are lifted, we will do what suits us best. In the meantime, what he has omitted to say is that we've got him out of a very big mess because nobody wanted to buy the Venezuelan heavy oil, because most countries don't have the necessary refineries to refine it. It just so happened that we have the refineries because we have been refining Russian oil, which is very similar, ironically, to Venezuelan oil. So we'll use the Jamnagar refinery, which doesn't make any distinction between Russian and Venezuelan oil. We'll refine it, and if and
Yeah.
that is the most hilarious part of the whole thing is that we may make a good profit by selling it back to the Europeans at a good price, like we did for the Russian oil. That's why I
This
said
is
we are a highly transactional country. We don't need Trump to teach us how to be transactional. We have been transactional from the time of Chanakya. We will just lie low and do what suits us best. And as far as that bit has been put, I don't blame the Indian opposition for getting upset. Anybody would get upset seeing such language, because it is really not language that is used in bilateral conversations between sovereign states. And certainly it is not the kind of language expected from the President of the United States of America, honestly.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely. But then I think, but
keep
yeah.
cool about
Be cool, keep cool about it. Keep calm and carry on, as the t-shirt goes. But Seema, what would then be your points of concern? I think here there seems to be a strategy, and the strategy seems to be you duck a confrontation on this issue. You bide your time to see what happens between Russia and Ukraine. You wait and hope for a breakthrough where this entire debate becomes absolutely irrelevant. And if not, you revisit this. Maybe you kick the ball down the road, as they say. What are your other points of concern? There's also a huge debate around this $500 billion purchase of US goods. Piyush Goyal has gone on record to say that this is not legally, this is not sort of mandated. This is something India intends to do. It's a carrot, but it's not a commitment. Let's put it like that. Is that something that concerns you? What are your concern areas, if any?
I'm not concerned about the $500 billion figure because he has pulled all these big figures with other countries as well. And it's all about the language, right? The language is intends to buy. This is what amazing diplomats like the ambassador do. They put this kind of language to give you a little off ramp. So yes, 100 billion a year is what the minister has said is very easy to do, because then it'll become an accounting thing. You're going to count everything you've ever bought, or is in the pipeline as the intention to buy, right? So Boeing planes have been ordered. uh, they alone will amount to a big figure. So India will count everything, and Trump understands that. His people understand that. Is they can't force a country to say that you have to buy X, Y, and Z. But it is also true that there are things India does buy. It's the import bill is for India is high. So instead of sourcing it from other places, it could source more from the United States. And that gives both sides a win, in a manner of speaking. What worries me more than
Mhm.
this is the fact that all of the Russian oil, or much of it, will go to China at even cheaper rates. What does that do to Mr. Trump and his strategy of countering China? I mean, China is like sitting there getting all this oil at really cheap rates. So, hopefully, the adults in the room, if there are few, will press that upon him, that you are actually ultimately helping China. Even as Trump tries to find a strategy which is somewhere midway between confrontation and accommodation, all this is bolstering China. That that's what concerns me actually much more.
I think that's a great point, and we've already seen reporting on the fact that Russia is making up for any hit it gets from India by discounting prices further, and you're going to see this Russia China axis, as it were. And Ambassador Mukherjee, I think that's a great point. These are India's crude oil imports. I was talking actually about Russia to China sales that Seema was talking about, so we could come out of these. Yeah, Ambassador Mukherjee, do you want to respond?
Brilliant intervention by Seema, if you don't mind my calling you by your name. Um, and I completely agree with her assessment. It will go to China at a cheaper rate. And the problem with Trump is, although he doesn't believe in communism, he actually has a very dialectical approach to China, to use communist language. He says he wants to weaken China. He says he recognizes that it's US's biggest adversary. But on the other hand, he systematically takes measures to weaken his allies, his strategic partners, and strengthen China. So actually, in a way, he's China's best friend. I'm sure Xi Jinping is very pleased that he's there as US president, because all the steps that he's taken so far, where has it harmed China? Not at all. It has actually emboldened China, because he's also weakened the rule based order in the Indo Pacific. He shows no interest in the Quad. He shows no interest in coming for a Quad summit to India. So this sends signals to China, for example, that it has a free hand to do what it likes as a hegemon in this part of the world, and that includes Taiwan. So I would say actually that he's playing the game completely wrong. He should be a bullying transactional president with China, and stop bullying his friends, his strategic partners, and his allies. And that includes NATO, that includes President Macron, to whom he's been unbelievably rude, it's so rude that I found it difficult until I read the French translation. I had to convince myself they actually said all this. So he actually is doing it completely wrong. But there's one more point I'd like to add to Seema's point, which is, yes, we are doing it year on year because we are calculating how many years he has left. That's very important, because we have the midterms coming in November. If he does badly, he becomes a lame duck in any case. So not only have we said, as Seema pointed out, that we said we will try and do this, but we will also do it in a manner in which, if he becomes a lame duck, we can slow down the process. And most of this money is going to be spent on defense purchases, which we definitely and urgently need, given the hostile neighborhood we are in at present. And we will buy technology with transfer of technology, which has been promised to us. And if
Yeah.
that happens, it's worth the money, because it's on defense purchases, which we've been wanting for a long time. And Trump actually on defense purchases has been much more flexible than his predecessors. So while he is there, we should make the most out of this money that we've promised him, and focus on defense purchases and stuff that we need from them.
So, in the end, I want to actually pick up this point, Seema, that Ambassador Mukherjee makes about biding time, not just for Russia, Ukraine to maybe work out, but also for Trump's own political fortunes to unfold. On the morning that you have woken up on the East Coast, U.S. congressmen today will have the freedom to read the unredacted Epstein files. right? And some of them have threatened to go public if the DOJ, the Department of Justice, does not place critical information in the public domain. There is all chance, I don't know how this is going to play out politically, that this is going to sully Trump. In the United Kingdom, it's created a crisis for Keir Starmer. We've seen resignations in his government. Uh, how strong a footing is Trump on right now, given the Epstein files and other associated issues? I mean, domestically.
Domestically, he's in a spot of trouble, as the British would say. Midterms are coming, his popularity is coming down. There is a judgment in the Supreme Court on these tariffs that's awaited. I don't know why it's taking so long. It makes me a little nervous because some people say the court is going to rule against Trump. I'm not convinced of that. I think they're taking so long because they're struggling, and they might rule in his favor or find a way to allow these tariffs. That's another thing. Domestic problems from, you've seen what's been happening in Minneapolis. He's had to backtrack, recall some of these agents from Minneapolis. Yeah. So, yes, the Democrats, if they can use the opportunity, they have him on the back foot. And these troubles might multiply, but that's only if the Democrats can get their act together. Focus on one or two issues, affordability, inflation, whatever they want to focus on, but not go all over the place, with 100 other issues. So, yes, Republicans are breaking ranks. In the Senate, a couple of them have said some things. Privately, they are really upset with the way Trump is handling some of these things. Publicly as well, a couple of them have begun to speak out. As you know, the law that was passed was with the help of one Republican congressman, Thomas Massey, and Ro Khanna from the Democratic side. They got this law that Trump had to finally sign, which has allowed the release of Epstein files. The files, there's just incredible amount of information, and it's really disturbing.
Yeah, it is very, very disturbing. And it's going to be, as I said, now that all of Congress has access to the unredacted file, Seema, I'm imagining that even more, if there's a way for the Epstein files to get even more sorted, you're going to see even more sort of skeletons tumbling out in the next few days. And Master Mukherjee, let me give you a quick last word before we close. We have an interesting question from one of our viewers, Saurabh, who says India's greatest test vis-a-vis the US is yet to come. India hosts the BRICS summit this year and has to set an agenda for the summit. Trump has used strong language against the BRICS. And I think India, even if on oil, we sort of duck this confrontation for now, we're not going to give up our parallel relationships with all of these other countries, because we've seen that America is not going to be always reliable. We've seen that now firsthand. Quick closing thought to you on what the next few months might bring.
As far as the BRICS is concerned, Barkha, we have always said that we don't support de-dollarization. That is what upsets Trump most about some countries in BRICS talking about de-dollarization. We have never supported it. As far as the rest is concerned, we will set an agenda. Hopefully, the Indian diplomats will not let down India. We've set a very diplomatic agenda, which should not enrage Trump at all. And we will go ahead with it. At the same time, we will send out reminders to President Trump's advisors that he is due to come to India for a Quad summit, because if he doesn't stick to groupings which are supportive of United States national and strategic interests, then he is also doing what he's doing with China. He is helping to strengthen groupings that are anti-Trump and anti-US. Is that what he wants? If he doesn't want that, then he should show some interest in Quad, of which India is the chair. I also wanted to add, Barkha,
yes,
if you pardon me 1 second, that what has also damaged him is the highly racist video, which he had to finally withdraw, unspeakable video about the Obamas. I have never in my entire life ever
Yeah.
thought that we could descend to such a level. And it's not a good thing to alienate the entire Black community in the United States. This is a community which is strong, which is unified, which holds together the whole concept of what America means. So, uh, if he's doing this, he's going to definitely lose out on a lot of available votes in the midterms. I just wanted to add that for what it is worth. As far as BRICS is concerned, great, let it come. And let Quad come too. We'll balance both. I can
Yeah,
assure you that the Indian Foreign Service will not let you people down.
and we are sure of that. Absolutely sure of that. I think the diplomatic corps has demonstrated that, in an exemplary manner under great pressure in the last few months. Just before we let both you fine ladies go for the morning and the evening, as the case may be, because we have two time zones here, we asked our audience, what should India do on Russian oil? And actually, the question was, should India buy Russian oil despite US pressure? And 62% say yes, we should. Now, of course, foreign policy isn't going to be made by sentiment on the street, but it gives you that sense, Ambassador Mukherjee, as you often pointed out, in post-colonial societies, there's a great sense of wanting to hold on to your freedom to choose. And Seema, just a quick closing comment. Do you find that there's any better understanding of India on the Hill, or does it, is it where we were a few months ago?
See, on the Hill, the understanding for India has always been good. It's only that the Republicans were too afraid to say anything publicly or to criticize Trump when he was, saying all kinds of insulting things about India. So you talk to anyone, they want this relationship to be strong. They uh, they have invested a lot of years of work in it, both Democrats and Republicans, conventional Republicans as well as pro-Trump MAGA type of Republicans. That's the irony. Capitol Hill actually is not as powerful as a check on the executive power anymore as the founding fathers might have imagined. So that is one of the sort of problems in America right now. The Congress is not as powerful. What they've done on Epstein files is actually a kind of exception, not
Yeah.
the rule. The way they've been behaving overall is just whatever Trump wants, they give it to him. They have a very small majority in the House. They might lose it in the midterms. They're also aware of that. So, privately, they will say that, losing India is not the smartest thing. So, they recognize it. The question is whether the people in the executive branch, whether people like the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, truly understand that how much damage has been
Yeah.
done over the past year. And if
Yeah.
they do, they will take measures because Rubio is a very intelligent person. He's the smartest person in this administration, in my humble opinion. And Jaishankar met him recently when he came for the critical minerals conference. I'm sure they discussed all of this and how to spend this coming year, whether it's the BRICS summit or the Quad. So I'm
Yeah.
sure they've discussed all that.
I mean, on a lighter note, Sergio Gore has managed to get Trump to post about cricket in America, and we had a few nervous moments even in that match. And I think Indians would have been filled with great personal anxiety had we lost that match. So, well, at least that hoop we jumped through. Thank you so much, Ambassador Mukherjee and Seema Sirohi. Always a pleasure. Learn so much from both of you. Take care. Have a great day, and see you soon. And to our audience, see you tomorrow. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.